Hi, it's Ginny again, and my pal Jelly Belly, and the kittens have left. They had some lunch and are sleeping. So we are going to move on with the Wild Women of Lake Anna, and we're coming, you can see, almost to the end of the book. So we're going to read the last 3 chapters all at the same time today. Try and get Bailey out of such a mess and see what else happens about the pollution and the mines and all this stuff. Okay, so let's see here. The bear was after her, huh? So this chapter is called Mysteries Solved. It sounds like a good step forward, doesn't it? Bailey felt the bear licking her fingers as it got ready to take a bite. Ay, 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 ay. When she opened her eyes to have a look at the animal, Bailey screamed. It wasn't a bear, but Justin Rudd's ugly brown dog. Justin scowled as he knelt beside her. "Don't hurt me," she yelled. "Don't hurt me. Please don't hurt me." Justin covered her mouth with his dirty glove. "Florida girl, shut up. I'm not going to hurt you," he whispered. He was firm, but to her surprise, not snarly like he often sounded on the bus. "Promise you'll be quiet." When Bailey nodded that she wouldn't make any more noise, Justin slowly removed his hand. The truck rumbled closer. "Be still," said Justin. "Stay down." A black pickup with large containers as big as garbage cans bounced past in the ruts. The windows were down, and Bailey saw the driver. It looked like the same creepy face that had stared at her through the kitchen window on her first night at Sugar's house. "Who's that?" she whispered. Justin said, "My father." Ay, ay, ay. "He's crazy mad at the world and crazy mad at me because I saw him get chemical containers out of the barn and put them in the back of the truck. And then he threw a garbage bag in. I asked him what he was doing, and he sort of went nuts and chased me with a rake. I thought he was going to kill me. He'd hurt you too if he had seen you following him." "I wasn't following him at all," said Bailey. "I wasn't following anyone." "I thought you were because..." "Because what?" Bailey looked at Justin's face. He was scowling again. "Because your grandma is a snoop, and I figured you must be too. My dad hates her so bad..." Bailey interrupted. "Then why are you helping me?" Justin squirmed. He looked uncomfortable with what he was about to say. "Well, Florida girl, when I saw how good you were to Fern, helping her read and all, after I was so mean to you, well, but it doesn't mean I like you." Bailey looked at Justin's face. He no longer looked tough, and she could see the bruise on his cheek. "What happened to your face? Did someone hit you?" she asked. Justin didn't answer for a minute. Then he said, "When Dad gets mad, sometimes he's rough on us, and he always wants to get even with people, like your grandma. Hey, what are you doing out here anyway?" Bailey hesitated, then said, "I was looking for gold." Hold on a sec. Excuse me. She wasn't sure that Justin would stay nice or would go back to being mean, so that was all she told him. "I heard there used to be mines back here," he said. "I never looked, though." "When I heard the crunching in the woods, I thought you were a bear," Bailey said. "Why did you come down this trail?" Justin said, "Baileyfish, I was chasing after my dad's truck because I was really angry at him. I saw it turn into the woods. Then I saw you park your bike behind the pine tree. I knew my father had come down this road to dump leftover chemicals from his job. He knows it upsets your grandmother. I think he has made several trips in the last few months, lots more this week. I don't know what I would have done if I caught up with him." "He must be the person Sugar is looking for, the one who's polluting Contrary Creek," said Bailey in amazement. She tried to look at Justin's face, but he turned away. "What are you going to do now?" she asked. "I don't know. He yelled that I couldn't come home anymore," said Justin. "I don't even care about that. I've slept in the woods before, but I worry about Mom and Fern and the rest of them. He gets nuts." Bailey said, "I've got an idea. Help me get out of here. My ankle really hurts. We'll go to my grandmother's house. Sugar will help you. She'll know what to do." "She might not like me because of my dad. Besides, he made me help him dump that trash in your yard," said Justin. He looked tired and his stomach growled loudly. Bailey thought for a minute and said, "You can tell Sugar about what happened and tell her you're really sorry, but I know she'll help you." Bailey looked at her watch. "Oh no, I'm really late. Supper isn't started and Sugar will be home soon. You've got to help me get home. I don't think I can walk very well." Justin helped her up and said, "Put your arm over my shoulder. I've been in these woods a lot and I know a shortcut. Hang on to me and try to stand up. Okay, let's go." "Ow-wee!" yelled Bailey. "Shh!" said Justin. "I told you to be quiet. I don't know where my father is." Bailey whispered, "Ow, ow, 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 ow," as she tried to put weight on her throbbing ankle. "That's better," said Justin. As they got to the road, Bailey thought she could hear Sugar calling and calling and calling her name. Okay, the next chapter, next to the last chapter in the book, is called Home at Last. As Bailey and Justin hobbled up the front steps, Sugar heard them coming. She opened the door, her face full of worry. "Where have you been? I've been frantic." Justin said, "Please don't get mad at her." "I'm not mad, but I was scared silly. What happened to both of you?" Before they answered, Sugar said, "Let me see your foot." "Ouch," said Bailey. "It's my ankle. I can't bend it." Sugar had to cut off the shoelace because it hurt badly too much to pull her foot out. Sugar said, "We'll probably drive into Fredericksburg to make sure it isn't broken. But first I need to know what you two were doing wherever you were." Sugar fixed them hot cocoa in mugs that didn't match and let Bailey and Justin sit on the chairs near the fireplace so that they could get warm. "Now tell me the whole story, everything." Bailey fidgeted and looked nervously at Justin. "I'll tell you part now and part later," she said to Sugar. "Okay," said her grandmother. "The part for now is that I wanted to find a gold mine to have an adventure. I saw a guy driving a truck. It was the same face I saw looking in our window the first night I was here," said Bailey. "What man? You never told me about a face." Sugar frowned and pushed her glasses up her nose. "You were on the phone, and I thought I was making it up." Bailey saw that Sugar looked even more worried. "And then I thought a bear was after me, and I fell, and Justin helped me home," said Bailey quickly. Then Sugar asked Justin what happened to his face. The boy described how he had gotten the bruise. As Justin finished explaining, Bailey interrupted. "And Sugar, we know who was polluting Contrary Creek," she said. "What? Who?" asked Sugar. Justin said, "My father. I know I'll get in trouble for telling. He hates you for turning him in about the dogs and would do anything to get back at you. And we even saw his truck coming out of the woods. And I know he was the one who put garbage in your yard because I was in the truck," said Justin. He stared at his hands, which he twisted and turned in his lap, then took a deep breath. He looked directly at Sugar. "I'm sorry I did that. He made me." With a big smile, Sugar said, "Apology accepted. Stay put for a few minutes. I've got to make a few calls. Then we're going to town to get Bailey's ankle and your face checked out. And since my helper in the kitchen forgot to start supper, I think we'll get a bite to eat on the way back." They could hear Sugar first asking to speak to Justin's mother, and then she called the sheriff, and finally Harry. Bailey said to Justin, "I told you she'd help." Justin leaned back in his stuffed chair and stared glumly at the ceiling. Okay, this is the last chapter, and it's called Sugar's Surprise. Bailey sat on the front porch with Shadow and Sally. Even though her ankle was taped, Sugar said they could take a boat ride later as long as Bailey was up to it. The doctor told her to take it easy for a few days. The warm sunshine felt good, and Bailey thought she could see buds in the tall trees. Starting to be spring, huh? It had been quite a night. By the time they had gotten back from Fredericksburg, stopping for hamburgers and milkshakes along the way, the sheriff was waiting for them in Sugar's driveway. He had already been to the Rudd place, and after talking with Justin's mother and his sisters, he had arrested Mr. Rudd for hurting the children. The sheriff said he would deal with the pollution issue later after they gathered more evidence from the Rudd's barn and truck and visited the dumping site during the day. "It's safe to go home now," he told Justin. "Your father isn't going to hurt you or your sister anymore. Your mother can't wait to see you. She's been worried, too." Then he offered to pick up the bikes and give the boy a ride home in his patrol car. Sugar and the sheriff talked on the porch for a few minutes while Bailey limped into the kitchen where her grandmother had told her to wait. She was still expecting a scolding. Finally, she heard the door close and Sugar's steps in the hall. "I'm sorry," said Bailey. "I didn't mean to scare you." "I was very worried," said Sugar. "I accept your apology. Now, what is the other part of the story that you didn't want to tell in front of Justin?" Bailey twisted her hair. She was having trouble finding the right words. Her grandmother reached across the kitchen table and put her hand over Bailey's. "Okay, I opened the box of letters in the attic. I saw Mom's email, and I thought you didn't want me to live with you anymore because I was boring. Mom thought I was boring, and I'm a bother to you. So maybe if I had an adventure, you wouldn't send me away. I wanted to find gold," Bailey answered, not wanting to say one word of it. Her voice felt like it was caught in a trap in her throat. Sugar looked as if she was going to cry. "Bailey, Bailey," said Sugar, "don't you know how much I love you?" Sugar jumped out of her chair, knocking it over, and came around the table and swept Bailey into her arms. "You're welcome to stay forever. I was just trying to get your mother to tell me her plans once and for all, so you and I, could make our own. It wasn't fair to leave everything up in the air, and she just wouldn't make up her mind. So your mom and I had some late-night arguments on the phone and by email until she finally admitted she wasn't planning to come back anytime soon. That was all I needed to know. I have never thought you were boring or a bother. In fact, you have that wild woman faraway look in your eyes." Sugar picked up the chair and sat back down on it. "Now, I have a couple of things to say. I want you to remember that my stuff is my stuff and to respect that. And I will respect your privacy too. Deal?" Bailey nodded. "I shouldn't have opened the box of letters." "No, not unless you asked. We could have looked through them together and I could have answered your questions," said Sugar. And second, and most important, I want you to know that you always have a home with me. Your mother may come back and want you to live with her. I know you would like that. No matter what, Sugar is always here for you. I love you too, said Bailey with tears sliding down her cheeks. Sugar gave her another of those big hugs. Now, wait down here for a few minutes. I'll go get your bed ready, and then I'll help you up the stairs. That ankle is going to hurt for at least a week. Bailey was very tired from her adventure, but she no longer felt boring. Maybe she hadn't expected to find the polluter, and maybe she hadn't found the gold mine site, but she had had a good beginning as a spy. Sugar had said so, and in front of Justin. She watched the glowing embers in the fireplace. The remains of the log fire still warmed the room. Later, as Sugar helped her into bed, Bailey looked at the pictures of the wild women, as she did every night before she went to sleep. Then she did a double take. What? She said out loud. There was a new photograph on the wall. She looked again. It was her school picture, tacked up next to May's. Wow, thanks, Sugar, Bailey said as her grandmother turned out the light. There will always be new adventures for us wild women, Sugar said. Great, 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 great book. And the good news is, if you're still very interested in Bailey Fish, as I certainly am, and her grandmother Sugar and what their adventures will be, there are a number of other books in this series by the same author. So I, for one, am going to start, not right this second, but reading the second book. And so you can join me if you'd like to. The second book is called, I know this comes up backwards on the camera, but anyway, No Sisters Club. And it just picks up where the other book left off. So we'll find out more about Bailey Fish and her life with Sugar in Louisa County. It'll be really fun. Okay, have a good day.